There are clearly good movies and clearly bad movies, but sometimes we like to be persistently annoying to the Russian mafia until they kill or finally tell us what is everything in the middle. This is good, bad good.
Does it sting more because I'm a woman? That you got so soundly beaten in there by someone with a vagina? Having a penis doesn't automatically make you more scary to me. Just the opposite.
You're my guardian robber.
Tell me who you are.
Ooh.
Jennifer, tell me.
I'm the worst mistake you'll ever make.
I always look to Kai for like that seal of approval, and I can't ever read her face.
I know, I liked it. I think Brian approved too. We were both laughing.
Yeah, it's always funny to me. I feel like you can instantly tell what Travis thought of the movie just based off the intro.
Right, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Annoyingly persistent makes me think you didn't like this movie.
Hey, welcome to this episode, everyone. We already started with some good banter, so let's just keep it solid. There's the episode that the listeners already heard of Bad Times. I want to say it's Bad Times at RIL, where like it took me like 5 takes or 6 takes to like get the intro down. And we just ended up going with the like, I'm just going to mess this up and then just continue. But how are we doing this morning?
Yeah, good, actually. Hey.
Never been better.
Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That means we're doing good.
How about you? Yeah.
We're doing great. No, I'm good. We have our coffee. We have movies to talk about. What is there to hate?
I think coffee is a better idea than rum. So
yes.
Here we go.
I don't have coffee. I have water.
I thought he was going to say rum. Yeah. So this week, if you couldn't tell from the movie clips, we are doing the 2020 film I Care a Lot, which is written and directed by J Blakeson. And before we jump into verdicts or how we feel about it, let's get a plot synopsis. Hey, Google, what's the plot synopsis for I Care a Lot?
Here's the synopsis of I Care a Lot. A shady legal guardian lands in hot water when she tries to bilk a woman who has ties to a powerful gangster.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Wait, did Google just say when she tries to milk a woman?
Yeah, okay.
What was that?
Yeah, milk a woman.
I mean, I get what it means, but interesting phrasing.
Did you watch a different movie? Because I saw Rosamund Pike literally milking Diane Wiest.
Yeah. This one was about
milking.
Yeah. And they didn't understand why she didn't have milk anymore, even though she was like 67.
Right. What is that line from Meet the Fockers? You can milk.
I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
All right, you can milk anything with tits.
Meet the Parents.
Yeah. So great plot synopsis, Google. Anybody have anything to add to that?
No.
I mean, the movie's a little bit more in-depth involved than that, but that's basically it.
Yeah. It was a short synopsis.
Well, the movie takes a turn. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Which we will most likely get into, and I think or at least I have feelings about said turn.
Yeah.
What's the verdict on this film for you all? Let's go with Brian first.
Yeah, so I kind of went back and forth, going back and forth between bad, good, and good, bad. And I think what I settled on is that it's a bad, good movie. But I'm not fully confident in that. So this might be the first time there's potential to sway me back and forth, which has never happened before.
Oh my gosh.
I'm right there with you, Brian. I was going through it this morning, kind of about what I felt, and I wrote down good, bad, but this could also be a bad, good movie for me in some ways, but I'm going to stick with good, bad for now, and we'll see if I get swayed by the end.
I will not change my mind at all. It is strongly...
It's a stubborn man.
It is strongly 100% without a doubt in my mind.
Wow.
Any other movie on this podcast, I have not felt this strong about. Until this point.
Drum roll, please.
It is certainly, positively
Yeah, all right.
a bad, good movie.
I missed it. That's so funny. What did you actually say?
A bad, good movie.
A bad, good movie. Okay.
Wait, that's what I said too, right? Bad, good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
okay.
what you said.
All three of us said it.
Okay.
All three of us said it again.
No. I said good, bad.
No, you said you started good, bad, and then you switched to bad, good.
No. I did not.
Didn't she say that, Brad?
I'll be honest, I forget.
I mean, we are recording this, so we could go back and listen.
Okay.
I could be totally wrong.
All right. So I will write it down. Brian and I are right. And then
Yeah.
Kai.
Okay. all the woman shaming on this podcast, Travis.
I'm sorry. Hey,
Just
but if
joking.
we keep this up, we might get a Spotify deal. Because that's kind of how they work.
No, I'm sticking with good bad for now. You could sway me.
Okay, so we're going to break the film down into 3 different categories. The first category that we're going to be going over is going to be plot, synopsis, script, and everything that entails. Do either of you have a strong feeling about the plot, synopsis, script, or words that were said during the running time of this film?
That was the longest way to phrase a question ever.
That was very, yeah.
I feel long-winded today. I don't know why.
That's fair.
I love the setup. I will say I love the setup, right? The first 20 minutes of this film when I'm like, okay, I love anti-hero movies, one. I love that this was a white, skinny, blonde, female anti-hero because we all love to hate a Karen.
Do you like that? Okay.
Because we all love to hate a Karen, you know? This is the perfect...
True story, my mom's name is Karen.
I know. Isn't it terrible? I've thought that so many times of women who are actually named Karen.
Yeah.
I just find it fun to see a female anti-hero because I feel like for so long we just were not protagonists at all in films, and then the only protagonist a woman could be was a leading lady in a rom-com forever, and now we're finally at a point where women are just allowed to be women, shitty or wonderful, you know? So I appreciate watching films like that. So I love the setup, but what killed this movie for me was the fact that we go into the whole Russian mafia sort of bit. Whereas I felt like just actually delving into the world of somebody who takes advantage of people in elderly homes is really interesting in and of itself. And so I personally just wanted to watch that happen rather than she gets in trouble because the woman that is a, what were they calling her? A diamond, a ruby,
A cherry.
A cherry, right? That the cherry happens to be connected to the Russian mob, which is also fun. Don't get me wrong. They weren't making the movie that I wanted to see them make, but that's what I felt a little. I remember this was the second time I watched it, and I actually liked it a lot more this time watching it. But the first time around, I remember feeling duped by the plot. Oh, you set me up for this great world, and then you switch it on me, and now there's action scenes with the Russian mafia, and what, you know?
I'm gonna agree with a lot of what you said. Not so much the anti-hero, but...
Why are you surprised?
What?
You just had such a surprised look on your face when you said that.
And, I'm going to agree with a lot of it, but not all of it. Maybe this is similar to your appreciation for anti-hero films, but I really, really love just stories in general that someone messes with someone and they don't know what they're dealing with.
Right.
Oh,
something hidden.
You done fucked up now.
Yeah,
you have no idea
right.
how deep this will go. And I love that so much. And I would take it further than 20 minutes. I think the whole first 40 minutes, 45 minutes, I'm this is actually really good. I love Rosamund Pike.
I love
oh my gosh.
her. Yes. But that's to the next section.
Yes.
You've got a little crush,
don't
you?
Yes. Sorry. Don't want to get ahead of myself. And I agree. It falls apart, and then it becomes this. And then I have to force myself to believe that what is happening is actually happening because it just feels so almost comical or farcical.
Yes.
Well,
the tone of it, right?
Yeah,
switches at some point. Where you're oh, I thought we were in this sort of grounded world.
Yeah.
And this really interesting idea of I'm sure there are people taking care of or taking advantage of elderly and this situation. So here's a very grounded, real idea that we then flip on its head with this other thing, which is fine. But I feel the tone shifts so heavily, you almost feel like you're watching two different movies.
It's also, for me, the big... it's the white collar versus like white collar crime is what she's doing, obviously, right?
Right,
like she's doing this on like a federal level. Like those people tend to not understand, but I couldn't grasp that he just didn't kill her. There's this scene where they have her captive, and he says like, the last woman that disagreed with me is now buried under a Jimmy John's.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, like that's probably what.
But he does try to kill her.
Yeah, and that's partially where I'm saying it becomes farcical, because I'm like, none of this makes any damn sense anymore.
Yeah.
The whole car bit, I'm just like, this is the stupidest thing in the world.
I remember thinking that the very first time I watched it. This time around, I think because I knew that it was happening, I was just enjoying Rosamund Pike, like, take her tooth out of her mouth and put it in a thing of milk at the convenience store. I was just like enjoying watching that shit because it's sort of, it's fun.
That's not how teeth work. Like you can't just put a tooth back in. It's severed from the nerve.
I'm gonna Google how do teeth work right now.
Just what? Like what? Just she lost a tooth. Get an implant. Like you're rich. Like get an implant.
Put a diamond where that tooth was. You've got a whole bag.
And I just felt like it was this. I mean, I don't know if it was from the director or well, actually, it was the same person. I felt like it was another chance to just get Rosamund Pike with like the bluish purple hues that are like all over this film to get that like lighting on her or whatever. Brian, how do you feel about this about this section?
I agree with a lot of what both of you said. My thing was, I just found it all to be kind of fun still. Like, even though, like I think, Kai, you said it was like two movies in a way. And maybe part of it is because I'm such a big fan of Peter Dinklage.
I love him too.
Mm-hmm.
And I very much enjoyed his role. And it just, I think you kind of have to turn off. And I think once the whole Russian mafia thing happened, I think like in my brain, I kind of switched to like, oh, okay, it's this kind of movie. So I'm going to start watching it from like a different viewpoint or like a different lens.
Yeah, you're like, I'll go on the ride with you now that I know what it is.
Exactly. And even though it was kind of ridiculous, even though some of the dialogue was kind of ridiculous, even though, like you were saying, that torture scene before they, I guess make it look like she's fake drunk driving off the road was kind of ridiculous. And I'm not sure how much I buy the fact that Rosamund Pike's character, even though she's like a tough person, if you're like faced with the Russian mafia, I think like the average person is probably not going to handle that quite as well as she did in the movie.
Right. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because I kept thinking that of like, why we don't have a backstory for this woman or any understanding of why she feels so capable of going after this. I mean, they throw in the couple of things where she's like, she says to her girlfriend, like, I've dealt with men before who think that they can, whatever those lines are. But it's like, this is different than just men. This is like, this is the mob. Like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's very clear that even though she's obviously not a very good person, she's still kind
she's
of
a terrible
like
person.
a tough.
Do we?
Yeah. I was trying to be nice.
I don't think you have to.
Yeah, but she's definitely like a tough, like seems like a badass, right? But there's like regular real world badassery, and then there's Russian mob badassery.
Right.
And there's like a big difference between the two. And she's still like cracking jokes, talking shit, acting like she's in charge, even when he could easily kill her. And that part didn't really ring very true to me.
Right, because that's what I meant about like the first half of this movie felt like grounded, and then the ground is taken out from under us. I also, just with the not believing the whole car scene, also I did not believe that then she comes home just in the nick of time to pull her girlfriend, who would have been dead.
Not the nick of time. Homegirl would have been dead.
Right.
First of all, her skull would have been caved in.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we see them pummel her.
Yes.
And then she has like a little nick above her eye. And I'm like,
right. Also, there's like, isn't there like is there a puddle of blood?
Yeah, from her head.
So
yeah.
from her head. So she would have been like the fact that she doesn't have to immediately go to the ER either.
Or the fact that the next day she's not even swollen in the face.
Right.
Like her eyes are like perfectly working fine.
Guys, maybe they just spilled the strawberry jam she had in her fridge. It might not have been blood.
Okay. Yes. Good.
Just saying.
You're right. You're totally right on that.
But also, don't forget about all of the gas and fumes she would have inhaled for however long that was.
I was just about to say, and that's like, we're
Yeah.
just talking about the beating. We're not even talking about the fumes that she like
Right.
would have definitely died from. Because like,
Or at least
Marla
have brain
walks
damage
in.
from breathing for 3 hours.
Marla
Yeah.
walks in and immediately starts coughing.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
like, if you're coughing with just walking in,
Right.
homegirl's sitting right, or like laying right next to it.
Right.
Unconscious.
Right.
Like,
Well, and also how so they basically they essentially injected alcohol right into her bloodstream, right? That was like they were trying to make it look like she was drunk driving off the road. But then
oh, yeah.
isn't that what they
Is
did?
that what they
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
There's no way she would have.
I didn't get that.
Oh
Well-
my gosh. This film starts so grounded, just like you said, or like so like we're operating within this like real world to some extent. And then like it just gets
It becomes contrived.
yes. And like we're sitting there and we're getting hit over the head with like back to back to back, all these things that are like, how is this happening? Like this can't be happening. Like there's no way this works.
Well, that's where I sort of said like my mindset I think kind of switched to just go along for the ride and not look at it as realistic or anything. Like I was saying, like they injected her with the alcohol and then just like that, she's all of a sudden, I know adrenaline's a crazy thing, but like all of a sudden she seems stone cold sober.
Right.
And totally fine, other than a little bruised, you
And
know,
she's cold.
and maybe shook up. Yeah, and cold. But like, you know, you can't just fucking mainstream alcohol into your veins and be fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it just doesn't work like that. So like that was one of the few times where I was like, oh come on, at least have her stumble or slur
Right.
her words or something.
Right.
And
you
then
know?
she's like struggling to get out of the like she's swimming like really hard.
Yeah.
And it looks like she's not going anywhere.
Right.
And then it just cuts to like her like
Popping
popping up. And I'm like, oh.
I
was just gonna
did
say that
love
too,
the
yeah.
scream that she gives though when she gets up and out of the water. I just absolutely love that. Even though there was a part of me going,
Yes,
if you're
I had
really
the same
that loud,
thought.
whoever just
had the
pushed you
same
off the
thought.
cliff is hearing you and coming back
Yeah.
down to make sure you're dead.
Yeah. I had the thought when I saw that, oh, Kai really likes this movie.
Why? Because I'm a angry woman.
No. More from an acting perspective of like, regardless of how we think about this film, like I do think, and this is kind of jumping ahead to the acting, I do think a lot of these roles are like really fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And I was actually
like, who doesn't want to play a sociopath? Because that's
No,
what she is.
right.
You know,
I think that's why I love the like anti-hero and the female sociopath, because it's rare that we get to like that is not just like she's a sociopath. Well, actually, there is a bit of the plot. She hates men, so that's
No,
why
she's a
doing
sociopath.
this. Right? But she does keep bringing it back to men fucking fuck. Right? Sorry. I don't need to say fucking fuck. I'm not making any sense. Let me go back to what I was going to. You can cut that. Just cut that. No, but going off of what you were saying with like this just totally fun acting scenes to play and to play a sociopath, super fun. I was also going to say, since we are talking about the plot, but we're also talking about the script, I loved individually some of these scenes, like the writing in the scenes. I love the scene with her and Peter Dinklage, where she's tied up, even though, you know, there is sort of that like, okay, I have to believe that she is such a sociopath that she's like comfortable going up against this guy that's running the Russian, mafia. But I still like those scenes are very fun, and the writing is so much fun. And I loved, what is her name? All the writing for Diane is Wiest. Yeah, Diane Wiest's character.
who plays Jennifer Peterson, just so everyone knows.
Oh yes, who plays Jennifer? The
The cherry.
The cow. I mean,
Did you just call her a cow?
Cherry.
The cherry. Yeah. That was
we were
milked.
saying
Yeah,
milking,
yeah.
so I was
I get
yeah.
it, the cow that was milked.
I was like, they're milking the cow.
Yeah. But
Ooh,
so
cash cab.
Cash cow. Individually,
You guys don't know that show Cash Cab?
Cash Cab.
It's a
When
show.
you said Cash
No,
Cow,
no,
it
I
made me think
know,
Cash Cab. I used to love that show.
It's just funny that you. So
Sponsor
Tune
us,
into our
Cash Cab.
podcast for random phrases from Brian also.
Don't watch I Care a Lot.
Yeah, and go to New York,
Watch
try to be on the
Cash
show.
Cab.
Actually, maybe I will title the episode that. Don't watch I Care a Lot. Watch Cash Cab.
Find yourself a cash cow and watch Cash Cab. Ka-choo-pa-choo-poo. Should we move on to acting?
Let's do
Yes,
it.
I was going to say, Kai, you're bringing us in a natural segue into acting.
What was that?
I mean, I didn't say graceful. I said natural. Acting, I'll start with just saying that I absolutely love Rosamund Pike and Peter Dinklage, not just like as actors, because I do, but in this film in particular, like I do think they both elevate what I think is probably a mediocre script. I haven't actually no, it's a mediocre script. Like what they're actually saying, like nothing is like truly profound, truly like anything grand, and they bring it to such a higher level. And kind of like what you were saying, Brian, about like being along for the ride. I'm along for the ride from the beginning
Yeah.
just because of Rosamund Pike. Like I just am curious about this character, and it's also obviously very close to her character in Gone Girl, who's also probably a clinical sociopath.
Right.
So it's almost
her
like an
niche.
extension, a more like. Actually, no, I was gonna say a more ballsy, but like,
Yeah.
her character in Gone Girl is pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like a different, but it's very similar, obviously, like the character, but like
But she has enough nuance that you don't feel like you're watching
You
her
don't
in
think
Gone
it's the same
Girl
one.
whatsoever. Yeah.
although maybe it is.
Was this is this the same universe?
She's moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I'm just scrolling through the cast on IMDb right now, and I will say I literally loved everybody in this movie.
I also
didn't
loved
think
Chris
there was
Messina.
who?
Is that
Chris
the lawyer?
Messina.
Oh yeah.
Dean?
Oh,
Yeah.
he was great.
I love him so much. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because I wouldn't have thought of him in this role. He fits so perfectly, but I just he was great in it. I loved Nicholas Logan, who plays the guy who in the taxi cab
Oh,
who
like
goes
his henchman.
the henchman who goes to first pick up
Yeah.
Diane Weiss's
Oh, yeah,
character. I love Diane Weiss.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorites. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Parenthood. It's a Steve Martin movie from like I think the early 90s is what I would guess. It's one of my favorite movies. It's like Keanu Reeves when he was a kid, Martha Plimpton. There's like a lot of big actors in it.
Do you know it, Brian?
I have, and I feel like I've seen it, but I'm not sure.
Oh, it's a beautiful movie. I think everybody should see that movie.
I'm a
But
90s baby, so I haven't seen it.
Oh, there you go. Well, you should watch it. But she's in that movie and that. So I used to watch that movie a bunch when I was a kid, and so I feel like I've sort of watched her since I was a kid, and so I don't know, I already have a love for her. I also loved Alicia Witt as the doctor.
Yeah.
I loved that all the people who were a part of the scheme. Damian Young,
Yeah.
who ran the
He's Sam Price, right?
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
I loved.
So we
Yeah.
all agree that we liked everyone except Isa Gonzalez.
No, I liked her.
Oh, dang it.
I liked her a lot.
Brian didn't like her either. Thank you, Brian.
No.
It's not that I didn't like her. She was the least good, I thought, out of everybody. But I didn't think she was bad.
I would.
Look, I will watch anything that she is in, not for the reasons that you're thinking,
Yeah, I wonder why.
because she is Mexican, and I got to support fellow Mexicans in the film industry, which is why I will watch anything that she is in. It's going to force me to watch Fast and the Furious 10 because she just got announced that she's in it. That's how much I will support our people.
That's dedication.
That's really interesting because so even if you don't find someone talented just because they are.
I didn't say she's not talented. I just said I didn't like her in
Oh,
this
okay.
movie.
Okay. Gotcha.
I don't know if I've seen her in a movie that I've liked her in, but still.
I liked her in this. I did not love what the script gave her.
That could be it, yeah.
She's good in Baby Driver.
I hated that movie.
Yeah, I know, but she's good in Baby Driver.
I don't think anybody's good in that movie.
No one? Not even the stunt
sound,
coordinator or
the
film editors?
And whoever did the sound on that movie is brilliant. The score, the actual
Literally everything technical about that film is amazing.
is amazing. Yes, I just hated the plot, the script.
Agreed, but the script
and
is
all
bad.
of it's so stereotypical.
Oh, she's in Godzilla vs. Kong as well.
I didn't see that.
Oh, of course. Who hasn't seen that?
I don't know if you're joking or not, because it was a major
Very much joking.
blockbuster last year.
Wait, they redid she's in From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. I loved that movie, but I didn't know they made a series of it, which is apparently is on Netflix.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, no thanks. So anyways, going back to acting, they are all brilliant. And I loved Peter Dinklage in this role too. To watch him be a mob boss. I fully believe him when he's in his power.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, like a little Jack Dorsey. I was like, he should be Jack Dorsey in a biopic about Twitter.
Yeah, I actually thought pretty much everybody in this I thought was really good. I mean, obviously, like you guys said, Rosamund Pike and Peter Dinklage I thought were both awesome. Diane Wiest, the one note I wrote about her is Diane Wiest is great. I thought she was awesome.
Yeah.
Also as like the seemingly helpless old lady, but still kind of like a badass. Like when she goes to choke out Rosamund Pike, that was pretty sweet. you know, that was unexpected in a good way.
I love the moment when right before what you were talking about, Brian, when she like she has this like moment where she's just looking at her and she just starts laughing and she's like, I'm your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Or like,
yes.
I'm your biggest mistake. Sorry.
Yeah.
She was also the only one in the film who, whatever drugs she was supposed to be on or was effective in, actually, I felt like she was on them, right?
I thought that was really awesome.
You're not lying.
I also liked Macon Blair, who starts and ends the movie. He's the guy that is calling her a bitch. And
It's funny. I was looking at his photo just now trying to remember, because I think he either had longer hair or facial hair or something in the movie.
I think it's longer, maybe.
And he had a hat on at least at one point, I think.
In both scenes, he has the red hat.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I thought, like you said, Chris Messina is sort of like the slime ball, shisty lawyer. I thought was perfect.
Yeah. I really like him.
So yeah, I thought the acting, the only thing I was a little disappointed was Isaiah Whitlock as the judge. We didn't get any shit from him. You know, it's like he's famous for saying that. So that was a little disappointing. But
he was great in it too. I really, that whole part of the film, I appreciated the conversation that was brought up by the film of the fact that everybody's in everybody else's pocket in a system like that. I would have liked to know if the judge, like maybe that the judge was too. He seemed to trust her on like anything she said, which was maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it was never specifically said that like he was in her pocket.
Right, and I would have kind of maybe liked that because it would have made me believe a little bit more that he believed everything she said.
But there is also part of me that she is charismatic, and so like as like a good looking charismatic woman, I could also see him being in her pocket just for that reason alone.
For that reason, yeah, and there is a good play on that, yeah, for sure.
I have a lot of issues with our justice system, and like can believe a lot like that there's a lot of corruption in our justice system because it's severely flawed. Yes. But one, like, this is kind of going back to plot and synopsis now, obviously, but we're going on the segue towards the judge. I hated all of the court scenes because, like, I mean, you're saying that we never like formally hear if he's in her pocket, but I just took it as like he's definitely in. Yeah, like there's no way he's this stupid.
You've clearly never met a lot of people before, Travis, because a lot of people are that stupid.
Right.
Like there's no way. And also at the same time, like, she never has a lawyer.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I also just live in America. So
well, you live in Texas, so.
I mean, I'm not.
Just joking, Texans. Please don't come after me. I also, yeah, and I was just joking. I didn't think that comment was that bad until you started cackling over here.
But he's not a Texan.
Thank you. No, I'm not.
He's a transplant.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of smart Texans. I'm just being an asshole.
Yeah, they're usually from somewhere else.
Yeah, buddy.
Just kidding, Texas.
And we
We
just
love you.
lost our Texas audience.
No, I love Texas, and I will be in Texas in 3 weeks for Brian's wedding.
There you go.
4
I've
weeks,
never been,
however
but I've
long.
heard great things.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts on acting? I mean, I feel like we all agree that it's just really solid and like enjoyable.
Good.
I would say out of all of the movies that we've done for this podcast so far, unless I'm forgetting something, I would say this is probably the best overall acting job by the cast from like a full film standpoint, I think. Did that make sense the way I said that?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the best
I'm-
ensemble.
Best ensemble, yeah. I'm not remembering all of them, but I might agree.
Yeah. I mean, like, there wasn't really, like, I feel like in every movie, like, even if El Royale, you know, had some really big names in it, we didn't like all of the performances. But I feel like this one so far seems like the most consistently good overall performances from all of the actors.
Right, and I also think that's because the individual scenes were well written, too.
I also
And
think Rosamund
well-directed.
Pike is in the majority of them, and she just elevates anyone around her.
Well, there you go. That might be the other reason.
Yeah, I mean, she's fantastic.
And then the scenes that she's not in, Peter Dinklage is in, and he just elevates
Oh, right,
everyone
right,
around
right.
him.
Yeah. I did really enjoy, there weren't a lot of scenes with the two of them together, but like we already talked about the torture scene and then the scene in the hospital where they decide to pair up. I just liked their dynamic a lot.
We did not talk about, and I know I keep backpedaling now, we did not talk about the last 20 minutes, which I thought were like,
Oh yeah, we missed a lot of story stuff in that last 20 minutes actually.
oh my gosh, which I just thought was like an hour and a half long. The last 20 minutes, I was just like, this needs to end.
This was the first time for both of you watching this movie, right?
No, this is my second time.
Oh, this is your second
No,
time.
I'd seen
We've
it.
all seen it before.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was not having so many of those oh my god moments this time, but I remember the first time.
So I was front. The movie was so much more front loaded, like in enjoyment wise for me this time around. Like I was watching it in the first 45 minutes. Like I said, I'm like, oh, this movie's not as bad as I remember. Like I really disliked it the first time, and I'm like, this is not that like it's not that bad. It's really good. Blah blah blah. And then after that, like where we all agree, like it starts to shift. I'm just like, oh wait, no, like no, this is how I remember it, and it's not fun. But those last 20 minutes, sorry, Brian, go for it.
Yo, I was just gonna say, I actually do like the idea that these two people who clearly hate each other and clearly have differing points of view and the way they go about their business, that they end up figuring out a way to kind of work together just because their greed wins out over everything. Like that actually seems somewhat plausible to me.
Yes, I do like that. If we're gonna go with the mob story, I do like.
Yeah.
And
where
we're
it
also
ends.
assuming she wouldn't be dead already.
Right.
Well, sure. Yeah.
If we're gonna go along for the ride, I love where the ride ended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like the idea of like, oh, it's like kind of the equivalent of like a drug dealer on the street who's like just like pushing regular like street drugs, you know, and talking to like pharma bro that's like, actually, that's like pennies. Like you
Right.
really want to make a killing, you need to do it legally.
Right.
And like I really think there's like so much to be said about that.
Yes.
But like the way in which they executed that like final 20 minutes, and then she's like on that show with the really bad green screen, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Her makeup's really bad for some reason. Her cheeks are like really, really
Oh, I
red.
didn't
And I'm like,
notice that. That's a good segue into technical, but I do have to ask, did you guys like the fact that she gets shot in the end?
Good question.
yes.
Okay.
That reminds me of a question I was going to ask both of you. Who did we care about the most in this film?
Oh, because you care a lot? Who did we care about the most?
So when you say you care, you mean who did you want to succeed? Like, what do you mean by care?
Like I care what happens to the character.
Okay.
Because personally for me, I cared only about Peter Dinklage. Like I wanted him to win out in the end.
That's true.
I wanted Jennifer, whatever her name is, Diane Weist's character.
Oh, interesting.
That's who I cared the most about, because she's the one that's actually, they're just playing around her,
yeah.
right? She's the one actually getting injected
Getting
and drugged
and,
in this.
yeah. Probably electroshock therapy
yeah.
as well. And
Yeah. And I loved the fact that, like, even though we gather that she has a history with the Russian mob, or I guess it's just her sons that are in it, but we don't know what she has actually done. I kind of love that, like, she's just an older woman now living her life, you know, in this house, and she's very comfortable, and she makes her tea. I like all the things that we see her do prior to actually going into
her little swim aerobics class.
Yeah, right.
How do you feel that we don't really ever go back to her? And like, there's no like real conclusion with her.
Well, she gets out.
I don't think we saw it.
I didn't.
Wait, did we see her get out?
We have to assume if Peter Dinklage is making a deal with this.
Sure. But I'm just saying from a viewer perspective, if that's who you care the most
I don't think we saw it either.
how do you feel that that storyline?
I was okay with it. Okay. Yeah.
I will say she was the one that I would most want to see a spin-off of, because I would love to know what, like you were saying, was she part of the Russian mafia and that's how Peter Dinklage was sort of born into it? Or because like as an older woman, if she's Russian, you'd expect her, unless she completely trained away her accent, you'd expect her to have some sort of accent.
None of them have accents.
None of them do.
None of the Russian mob have accents.
Right.
Yeah. And so I don't know if it's just because they're living in America, so they've...
Did we make up that it was Russian?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was like, we've all been saying that. Is that actually in the movie?
If you guys ever watched that show, The Americans, with Carrie Russell, so she's part of the KGB from the time she's a child, and it's basically her accent is trained out of her. So it's possible they did that with all of them. But like, I would love to know more of her story, if she was involved in the mob, how Peter Dinklage, if he was born into it, or if he just kind of fell into it.
That's actually a great movie concept too, though, is
A female mob boss?
a female mob boss, or even if she's not the mob boss,
Yeah.
being a protagonist, that like a female, the mother or the wife or whatever, being an actual protagonist of a mob movie.
Yeah.
Because
mob movies are typically like the women are just like
side pieces.
there. Important, but like not.
Right.
Yeah.
Focused on, not centered on.
Like Karen in Goodfellas, I think is a very well-rounded like representation of like, a woman in that situation.
Yeah.
But she's not obviously the main protagonist.
Right.
The closest thing I could think of is we have a movie with Daryl Hannah. She plays the mob boss.
Splash.
Yeah, she's the mob boss of the underground or the underwater
of the mermaid clan.
Is it Our Family?
I don't know, but I love Daryl Hannah.
The Family?
Yes.
I mean, she plays a badass in Kill Bill, but not a mob boss.
Yeah.
Hang on, I really got to figure this out.
Let me just quickly say that when you were asked if we were, how we felt about her getting killed at the end, I literally wrote down, not sad that she dies. Partly because I liked the fact that it kind of came full circle. The guy who started off the movie kind of finished it. Like the guy who killed her was the first thing you see is him charging into the old person's home or whatever, retirement home, whatever it's called.
Right.
I like that it kind of came full circle. But also
Full circle.
yeah, I also thought like, and this we'll get into more with the technical stuff, but I liked the way it was filmed. Speaking of that scene specifically, but overall, but I also, with her dying at the end, it just feels like she kind of got what she deserved because she's such a terrible person and took advantage of so many of these people for so long.
Yeah.
That, you kind of deserve for that to happen.
Right. So I didn't hate that she dies, but I also sometimes love movies like this where she stays alive, especially if we're going down the track of like, oh, she's now made this a legal organization, which means she's now making bank off of it, and she's partnered with a guy from the Russian mafia. And I feel like there's so many politicians and people high up in our capitalistic society who are in positions like this and are not dead, but should be, that I sometimes don't want the Hollywood ending so that it will make people think of the reality of the situation a little bit more.
That's fair.
But of course, I didn't mind that she died. She totally deserved to die.
Yeah.
But sometimes I like when films end it just being like, and that's the world we live in.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
And I think that's what I wanted so much more from this film. There's this opportunity to put like this nuance into it and like to make these statements.
Right.
And they didn't.
Right.
I wanted the severity of the mafia, and then I also wanted the like she makes it legal in the end. So like in my dream world, they kill the girlfriend.
Right.
They kill the girlfriend, and then she still chooses to partner with him because she cares. She's a sociopath.
yeah,
she
who
cares so
cares
much
more
more about
about-
power
I
and
lo-
greed,
yeah.
and then they make it a legal organization, and they
Right.
call it Pfizer. You know, or like whatever.
Johnson & Johnson.
So now that we've already like pretty much talked about, or well, we've talked a little bit about it, but moving on completely to the technical side, this can include directing, cinematography, editing, score, costume, production design,
Makeup, as you were talking about.
yeah,
Lighting.
makeup. Yep. Any initial thoughts?
I have a couple of negatives that I'm going to start with.
Okay.
The first was I didn't particularly care for the music or the score. At times, I felt like it kind of worked, but at times, I felt like it was a little too distracting and sometimes unsettling, although unsettling is not always a bad thing. But I found it at times just to be kind of distracting.
Yeah.
And then one other non-music thing that really bothered me, the first scene when Chris Messina's character, the lawyer, comes into Rosamund Pike's office and is basically trying to bribe her to let Diane Weist's character go. So they're sitting in her office, and there's obviously like a lot of natural light and sunlight coming through the windows, but there's this like one harsh glare or light going across, I think, the right side of his face that just really bothered the fuck out of me, man. Like, it's like it was a little thing.
But if
But
it
it
pulls
just-
you
it-
out of the scene because you're
Yeah,
noticing
and
it.
it just seems so unnecessary. And like there was just like it was almost like a strip of light that looked like it was supposed to be like sun coming in through the window. You know, like if the sun like reflects off like the window of a car and shines right in your face. Like that's what it kind of looked like. And man, it just really bothered me for some reason.
I don't think I noticed that.
No, I didn't either.
Well, I'm obviously a lot more deep thinker.
A deep
than you.
noticer.
Yeah, as the,
A deep noticer, yes.
I'm much more of a deep noticer than you are.
I 100% agree with you though on the score and the music. I just thought it was like it was tonally weird at times. It like didn't make much sense in placement wise. I feel like Kai disagrees with us.
The only thing I wrote down about the music was love the music. I didn't have any moments where I was like, I remember loving the music in the beginning. I remember loving the way that the film started, the shot, the music that was playing there. And that's when I think I wrote love the music. And then I don't think I paid much attention to it, or it didn't pop out at me as good or bad for the rest of the.
What was the opening shot? I know it's at the convalescent home.
It's the what?
They're at the convalescent home.
Yeah. The guy's asking to see his mom, and it's almost like a sort of montage, but not.
Yeah.
Of
But what was the opening shot? Because you said you liked the opening shot.
the opening. I will say montage.
Oh, got it. Okay.
It's like a slow-mo montage or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, not the like very first shot.
Got
Should
it.
Clarify.
Got it.
I also just like a technical character prop thing. I love that they gave our anti-hero a smoky pen. I loved that she was using a smoky pen the whole fucking time, because normally characters
A smoky
like that
pen?
would what do you call them?
A vape.
Thank you, a vape, a smoky pen. You know, the pen you smoke.
I
out
just
of
don't
it.
know if you're saying like a smoke pen or like a smoky like
Oh, no, I was saying-
SMOKEY.
The
It's a
second
smoky
version.
pen.
It's a smoky pen. That's what I was saying. Or a vape. We can call it a vape.
I agreed though, because it's like the most hideous vape pen as well.
Yeah,
Like it's
and
so
she always has it with her, and like the way she uses it throughout, it was perfect. And
yeah.
It also, I felt it added a little bit of realism too, because I feel like you see people doing that all the time, all over
all
the place.
the time.
And you never really
Yes.
see it in movies or TV. I mean, not never, but like not super often. So I felt like it just felt a little more realistic that someone who's in that position would be smoking a
Yeah,
vape.
vaping, 100%.
Yeah.
And especially because that's what I was going to say. We always see, especially anti-heroes or sociopaths, whatever, chain smoking cigarettes. But like nobody actually does that anymore. So I appreciate that they like put in the new version of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it felt like it elevated, like coming into the new century, and also possibly this era of like sophistication.
Right.
Like I'm a woman badass.
Right.
Like
Right.
it just added
my
to it. And
smoky
like when
pen.
she blows it out of her nose at one point when she's
Yes,
sitting in
yes.
I forgot what she's saying, but she's sitting in a
her
lounge
office
chair.
in a chair. Yeah. Yes. No, because I kept clocking it of like how much I loved that she had that. Because it was like a Cruella de Vil thing with her long cigarette, but it's her smoky pen, her vape.
Her smoky pen.
The smoky pen. The other thing on props though, this was like, so I loved the vape. I absolutely hated, this was like my pet peeve for the movie, the smoothie that he calls an iced coffee. He calls it a smoothie. It looks like an iced coffee that Peter Dinklage asks his like right-hand man, to get him. Or he asks if is that my smoothie? And it's totally an iced coffee.
Yeah.
It like is 100% an iced coffee, or even because it's got a boba straw in it. So maybe it's a boba tea, but it's not a smoothie. And it drove me nuts. It like took me out of it. I couldn't watch anything but the fucking smoothie for the rest of the, and then even when he throws it and it splashes against the wall, it's clearly not a smoothie.
As someone who doesn't drink coffee or hardly ever has smoothies, that was not something I really paid attention to at all.
I will validate you. I noticed that it was not a smoothie as well, but
also just say iced coffee. Why does it have to be a smoothie?
I loved the fact that he was like, "Is that my smoothie?" Like, he's in the middle of this like deep thought, like he's like pissed. He's like, "Is that my smoothie?"
Right. I did appreciate that too. Yeah.
Here's a quick question. That's not really story or technical. It might be acting, I guess. But when he's the one scene where he walks in and he's on the ropes or whatever it is, like the gymnastics ropes, do you think he's actually, like Peter Dinklage was actually holding himself up
I think there was a guy in a green screen suit holding up
parallel to the ground like that? Because that's impressive as fuck.
His
They
body.
just comped him
Wait,
up.
when he's on the rope. Oh.
Yeah, he's on the Olympic rings.
Yeah.
Remember, he's like the rings or whatever they are, and he's holding himself perfectly parallel to the ground.
That is very impressive. Yeah. You were like, Peter Dinklage is a yoked badass.
Yeah. So my first thought was like, I was trying to see, is that green screen or is he really doing that? Because clearly people can do that.
On the shot, I did like, I stopped the movie and like looked at that shot, and I was trying to see if there's like any like masking lines or if it was like soft anywhere, and there wasn't. So that's why I'm like, it must be like a guy in a green screen suit holding him up, or he's actually doing it.
I guess, yeah. I mean, but that was if that was actually very, very much him doing that, that was very impressive.
But it is a static shot.
Yeah,
It is a static shot where I feel like if he was actually doing that, I would want to highlight it like by moving the camera a little bit, like to prove like this is not a green screen, or like this is not, because like when you're trying to do something like that, you want it to be a static shot because it's going to be easier to like comp out the person or like the wires or something.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know. Maybe Peter Dinklage will hear this and want to come on and then tell us what
actually happened. Yeah.
We'll tweet at him.
We'll
tweet this episode at him and then see.
I'll call him.
The yoked badass. That's what we should call this episode.
Peter Dinklage, the yoked badass.
Yeah.
Yes.
I care a lot about Peter Dinklage's yoked badassery.
Yeah. About cinematography, though, I really did appreciate the colors, like the color palette that they chose to stick with for a lot of it. Like you see a lot of like red in not overwhelming amount, but there's like always this like hint of like red hue in like shots. Like when they're in the construction site, there's for some reason red up top that like kind of crowns the construction site, and then like in the gas station.
There's
like the red in the hot dog, and like there's red outside, and like I really felt like the cinematography, like they had a plan and a vision for like how they wanted to light each thing, and it comes across clearly.
Also, watching her kick the window out of the car when the car's underwater, and like the lighting during all of that was really beautiful. And especially because oftentimes you see movies where someone's underwater and you're like, where is the light source coming from that like so perfectly streams through the water so that we can see this person? But then when she gets out, there are these massive like construction work lights on. And so it was like, oh, and here's the source of light that was coming from. Like there was realism in a lot of that stuff, which I appreciated.
Yeah, I also found the actual angles of the shots and the composition of the shots, I thought was I appreciated it. I can't really remember anything specifically off the top of my head because I watched this admittedly last weekend. But I noted that I just thought some of the angles and some of the actual framing of some of the composition of the shots I enjoyed and appreciated. I thought it was not just the standard kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was just gonna figure out who the director of photography was to tell you are also a yoked badass. But
I did write down at one point, I said it's an interesting mix of good pacing and slow pacing. Like I felt like there were some scenes where it was like faster cuts, faster pacing, and then some scenes where it was some longer cuts, some slower pacing, which I think overall I enjoyed. I say not 100%
yeah.
positive, but I think so.
I loved all of when the henchmen, I guess we'll say, go into the care facility to like bust her out essentially, and just how they filmed that whole scene, following them down the hallway, and then he's knocking on the door and then going to the door and then she comes out, like all of that, and they turn the corner. All of that technically was just really fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the actual action scenes were really well done.
Okay. Well, I feel like that just about sums up the technical section, and now we can move on to the section that is often forgotten.
Doug Emmett. Sorry, cinematographer. Doug Emmett. Also, I just want to say the direction was good, I think, as well. Like, even though tonally there was some...
Yeah.
For what he did with this movie, the director.
It would have been interesting to have... Like, what if there was a co-writer, like someone else that came in and like helped the script? Because it's a writer-director.
Yeah, right.
Came in and helped the script and like
right.
helped flush out a few of these pain points that we're like talking about.
Right.
And like let the director just direct.
Right.
I wonder what that film could have been. But yeah, moving on to the next section, the often forgotten but really loved section, I guess. Nitpicks.
I already told you, man, it was the smoothie versus coffee.
Okay.
For me.
Mine was the light shining on the dude's face. Really bothered me.
Yeah, I guess we've done our nitpicks. Travis has got something though screwing up. I can see
well,
it.
my first nitpick is the courtroom scenes, which I've already brought up. Like, she never has a lawyer. She's representing herself. And I'm like, are we supposed to believe she also knows law and practices law?
Yeah.
Like, what do we do? Like,
I didn't even think about that.
Like, she's just this uber smart person that also practices law.
I didn't think about that.
Or like, maybe she's not like, a bar, like she didn't pass the bar or anything like that. I'm not saying she's like a certified lawyer, but she's clearly representing herself.
Right.
So like this judge is then like, yeah, I'm completely cool with like agree. Like, that's what makes me think like he must be in her pocket because she doesn't have a lawyer.
Right. Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. No, me neither.
Drives me crazy. And then the next...
Sorry, I was going to say, like, I don't know really anything about, I don't know if that's considered conservatorship or guardianship or whatever it is, but I guess it's possible that she might not need a lawyer because she's serving as like essentially as the state, right? So like if she's, I don't know.
But the state would appoint a lawyer.
I guess, but there's a way, I can't really explain it, but there's a way in my head it could make sense for her to not need a lawyer because she is...
The only way it makes sense is if we just don't talk about it.
That's fair. Let's move on.
Because Britney Spears' dad had a lawyer, and he was technically like for the state because he was her.
But the difference is that Rose, I forget what her character's name is, but Rosamund Pike, this is like her profession and her job and what she does 24/7. So like she should be able to speak on behalf of, these are the steps that I've done. This is what's best for them. This is what I've done in previous cases. Whereas Britney Spears' dad is just a dude who has no skills.
She could speak on behalf of what she's doing, but not on behalf of the law and the state.
But it's also possible that because that's what she does 24/7, she could be...
Brian, she needs a lawyer.
I'm just saying.
She needs a lawyer.
She could be an expert at that part of the law.
All right. Nitpick number 2.
I just want you to know that your nitpick sucks, Travis.
I mean, the big nitpick for me is like they just would have killed her already. Like they would have killed her already, and they would have got her out of the convalescent home. Like there's
but then you don't have a movie.
Correct.
Then it turns into a short film.
The other nitpick is like, how do you not? So you set up this life for your mom, like so she could live however she wants or whatever, with all of this wealth or whatever, and you have this like lawyer that you're always going to send to get people out of things, but you don't have it pre-planned that she's on retainer? Like there's no evidence whatsoever, but that's your plan to send that lawyer?
Good point.
Like, why are you even sending that lawyer if there's no evidence whatsoever that like that's her lawyer? Of course it's gonna backfire.
Look at you.
But you like
these
thought
things
you thought through this whole process of like, you went through the process of finding a dead child to take her identity, but you didn't think to have your lawyer on retainer.
Well, that was many years ago, you know. The
They
mind was working better.
They erased the
at
girl's
that point.
death certificate, but retainer, nah, we're going without a retainer.
Yeah.
It's hard to think of everything, man. It's hard to think of everything.
Yeah.
Well, I do, and the listeners come here for that.
For that.
For our journalistic integrity, right?
Hey, I did not mention that this time. There was this one episode I was listening back where Kai's like, "You're going with that joke again," and I'm like, "All right, I'm not going to mention that ever
What,
again."
journalistic integrity?
Yeah. Next nitpick is like all of the
I thought we were done. No, he's still going.
next
Okay.
nitpick is we've already talked about is the like all the bodily like issues of like
Right.
these people would be dead. But my biggest one, and you kind of brought this up, of like Jennifer Peterson being the only actor, or like the only character that's actually being affected by drugs.
Right.
But I'm like, they're going around tasing people. As soon as the taser is done, they wouldn't be unconscious. They would just get like they wouldn't just like.
They're not like dead on the
Yeah,
ground.
like
Yeah.
a taser doesn't knock you unconscious. It's just like this dry taser that like provides pain, and then when you're done,
Have you been tased before?
I have, yeah. I got tased in my butt in high school.
Well, it might be different than getting tased in your chest, like near your heart.
Sure, yeah. I wasn't 270 pounds and like this massive bodyguard dude that just like gets tased by this woman and like just lays there. And then Peter Dinklage comes out. He's like, "Hey, where's my bodyguard?" And I'm like, "It's the 270-pound man in front of the car you're getting into. What do you mean?" And then she stabs him in the leg with the dart thing or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then Peter Dinklage just like slumps over. And I'm like, that's not how that works.
For the point of the movie, it does.
The only way anything
Sweating
like
over
that
here,
is
everyone.
the only way anything like that is instantaneous is if it's like intravenous, like going straight into his veins. It's
Right.
not. It's going into his muscles.
Sorry,
It
I
would
didn't
take,
realize
like-
you were a doctor.
It would take like 5 to 10
either.
minutes.
Apparently, he's a doctor with a law degree because he knows all of these things.
Yeah,
Apparently, he is Rosamund Pike.
I think so.
Am I saying her name right? I feel like
Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund. I keep adding a in the middle. Rosamund.
It is Rosamund, right? So I say Rosamund.
Yeah.
Oh, I say Rosamund.
Well, that's unacceptable.
Rosamund, you better
All my
call us
energy is
and
going
let us
into
know.
nitpicks, so I can't focus.
Rosie,
on
can we
his
just get you
name.
on
I
the
know.
next
I'm trying
episode
to
so
slow
you
you
can tell
down
us?
because you're freaking me out over here.
Yeah, Petey
Yeah.
and Rosie.
Peter and Rosie.
Yeah.
They're gonna come on. I'm gonna Petey and Rosie.
I
Pete
think
Rose.
that's it,
Good old
though.
Pete and
Like,
Rose.
I have other nitpicks, but I feel like they've been sprinkled out throughout. I'm done. Are we done? What have we changed our minds?
Frustrated. I don't know. What did I say? I said this was a
You
good
said it was a good.
bad movie.
Yes.
So what's interesting is I think when the first time I watched this movie, I would have told you this was a bad good movie.
Mhm.
Because I really just was pissed off by the end of it. And so I didn't feel like I had been entertained by it, which the first chunk of this for me is always whether or not I enjoyed the experience. But this second time around, knowing where it was going, knowing what it was, I actually really enjoyed the experience. I really was paying attention to the actors. I had a lot of fun with it this time. So that's why this second time around I said it was a good bad movie, because I was going, it had all the potential, but it didn't do, I guess I should say, what I wish it did. It did what it wanted to do. But what I wish it did, which for me is why it was a bad movie, but I really enjoyed watching it. But I also understand the flip side of that, which is like, but technically,
Yeah.
like all the technical stuff, it's actually a really good movie in that way. So then I also understand why it would be a bad good movie. Can I have both opinions here?
See, because I feel like I'm in the same boat, so I'm going to have to allow you to have both opinions because I feel like I
Great,
need
thank
both
you.
opinions as well.
Thank you for the allowance. Travis hates us. This is degrading to
I
his
do.
concept of this show.
Every week that we record, I hate it. Every single time.
But it's tough though because, like you said, like so for me, like the good bad or the bad good, the second one is always whether I think the movie itself was like a well made or well done movie, and the first part is my enjoyment or whether I
Right.
liked it or not. So like the reason I say it's bad good is because, like you said, all those technical aspects I thought were good. I thought the acting was really good. I didn't love the score, but and so like I didn't think it was a bad movie, but it was kind of like a dumb movie, even if I enjoyed it. So that's why I went with bad
Yeah.
good.
I get that.
So I think I was not 100% certain on that an hour ago, and I'm still not, but I'm still not changing my mind.
Great.
Thank you.
Travis
It's a bad good movie.
changed his mind.
Nope, it's a bad good movie. It could have been so much better. The first half was very enjoyable, like we've already said multiple times, but I can't. I think that's my issue. It's such a good setup. It's such a good first half.
Yeah.
And then it just like
Yeah. That was a good fart noise.
It sounded a
Juicy
little wet.
that one. It did. I was like, ew, did that come out of your mouth? Or
Or out of your butt.
yeah, exactly. Even though I like watched it come out of your mouth, I was a little like confused.
okay. If
All right.
you wanna
Pete, Rosie, look us up.
yeah.
Pop on this show next time.
Or if anyone listening knows them, just, tell them
Tell them.
to listen to this.
Yeah.
And maybe they could, retweet
Hop on.
it or something. Or come in to the
Make
studio
some fart sounds with us.
and tell us that we're wrong for thinking these things. But we did overall love all of the actors.
Yeah.
Which is the strongest, which is the main point that I want to make, because maybe they do want to come on the show. But as always, we know that making movies hard, and this is just all fun and games, and we appreciate every movie that is made and all the filmmakers out there.
Maybe not every movie.
No, I appreciate anyone getting out there and making
a film.
regardless
Me
of
too.
the,
Okay, that's fair.
because I've made some crappy films in
Oh,
my
I've
life.
made some shit, and I've acted like an asshole in a lot of movies too, or not acted like an asshole, but my acting was not.
Was as good as an asshole.
There you go. And was as good as your.
So
wet
actually very
fart
sensitive.
odor.
It was a sensitive acting.
My
film.
asshole is hard and calloused. I don't know about you. Brian's just got
I can't be part of this anymore.
his hand on his forehead and he's shaking.
Which is saying something because I'm pretty
Too
immature.
immature for you, old man.
Hard and fast.
Anyway,
New title of this episode of the podcast: Hard and
my
calloused.
asshole's hard and calloused.
I care a lot about my hard,
Hard
and
and
calloused asshole. Okay.
Anyway, I do think this is also I do think there's people out there that actually really, really love this movie. So if that's how you feel, let us know. You could find us on all social medias at goodbad_badgood. You could find me on all social medias at travis.orozco. You could find Kai at
Kylene Mai on Instagram.
and Brian at
Gossip.
Okay. Well, until next time, when we watch a movie about a nun who has to fight a turkey that is possessed by the devil.
What the fuck?
I don't know these things that he comes up with.
What is happening?
These are all pitches Travis is trying on the podcast so that he can get tweets of people being like, "Wow, sounds cool, dude," or "No," so he knows whether or not to really go into the writing process on them.
Just once, I want you two to just go along with something and say bye, okay?
Bye.
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 Good Bad Bad Good is an Ex Nihilo production. Original theme music and sound engineering done by Jen Star Hacker. Find her at hackersoundmusic.com. Opinions expressed are solely that of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views of any entity they represent.